Hello my motor enthusiasts. Things are revving up in the Red Bull camp, with team boss Christian Horner discussing the future of their drivers and the possible addition of Lando Norris. Red Bull, always keeping a watchful eye on the driver market, acknowledges Norris' robust talent and personality. But pairing up with Max Verstappen, that's a high-octane task. With Sergio Perez booked till the end of 2024, Red Bull emphasizes the need for high championship standings. However, with no big driver prospects on the horizon and Yuki Tsunoda's underperformance, the team faces a challenge. It's a question of balance. Two top drivers could ignite internal competition. Horner suggests Norris might be better at the wheel with McLaren, potentially racing for wins and championships. But who knows? If McLaren's performance hits a speed bump, Norris may consider switching lanes to Ferrari, Mercedes, or even Audi. Quite the pit stop for thought, isn't it? Greetings, fellow Formula One fanatics. This is your dedicated host, Enzo, at the wheel.
And here with you too, this is William.
We're here on the F1 Motor Fever podcast channel, same time every day. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to keep up to speed with us. Now let's go full throttle. Our topic, Red Bull's driver lineup, continues to spark conversation. The team's boss, Christian Horner, has some significant decisions to make. Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, respectful rivals on the track and mates off it, are emerging as the top drivers of this generation. With Sergio Perez's unpredictable form and incident-prone results, his future beyond the 2024 season is under scrutiny. Horner acknowledges Norris as a potential contender, but he's also keeping a close eye on other talented drivers in the current generation. However, being Max's teammate is no easy task. Horner's ultimate aim is to field the best pair of drivers possible, even if it means looking beyond their current pool.
Speaking of looking beyond, I heard rumors that Daniel Ricciardo might be making a shock return to Red Bull. Now that would be a twist.
Whoa. Hold your horses. It's important to verify such information from reliable sources. The official Formula One website or Bandeirantes, the official F1 broadcaster in Brazil, are great places for fact-checking. As far as I'm aware, there's no official word on Ricciardo returning to Red Bull.
My apologies for the slip-up. I'll be more careful with my sources next time.
Moving forward, the spotlight is now on the runner-up spot in the Drivers' Championship. After 16 races, Perez is holding on to second place with 223 points, pursued by Lewis Hamilton with 190 points and Fernando Alonso with 174 points. Red Bull's boss, Horner, has his sights set on a debut 1-2 season finish. Despite the challenges Perez faced in Japan, Horner believes there are sufficient races left for Perez to bounce back and achieve great results.
How significant would it be for Red Bull to clinch a 1-2 finish in the Drivers' Championship for the first time?
It would be a huge achievement. It's something they've never managed before and would undoubtedly set a new milestone in their racing history. It would also be Perez's best ever result if he can maintain his form.
While some suggest that Perez's seat might be under threat, who else could Red Bull consider as potential partners for Max Verstappen?
It's been rumored they might be eyeing Lando Norris. But it's also suggested that they don't have any promising drivers in the Norris or Ricciardo mold within their pipeline. While Pierre Gasly is admired by some, Yuki Tsunoda's performance this season is still under question. With that said, it's all speculation at this point. Red Bull will certainly weigh all their options before making a final decision. The performance of Yuki Tsunoda, another driver on the Red Bull roster, is also under the microscope. Despite his connection to Honda, his performance has not yet met the expectations of a prodigy. Moreover, rookie Liam Lawson, after only 4 Formula One races, has been matching, if not surpassing, Tsunoda's pace.
So, does this mean Lawson could potentially be a consideration for Red Bull?
It would be a bit reckless to consider Lawson for the Red Bull seat alongside Max at this point. He's had a stellar junior career and has shown promise in the AlphaTauri, but it's still early days. Remember, whoever takes up that second seat next to Max has big shoes to fill.
You're right. Sergio Checo Perez, despite not being a Lewis Hamilton or Fernando Alonso, has been more consistent than his predecessors in a Red Bull car. Where does this leave him?
At 33, Perez is considered a very good Formula One driver. He's shown his skills in Jeddah and Baku this year, but it seems that was his limit. Trying too hard to push beyond that, closer to Max's level, seems to have been his undoing. Meanwhile, Verstappen has been improving steadily, leaving Perez wondering how the 25-year-old finds the pace to raise the bar every race weekend. The age difference is also a factor. Checo appears to have plateaued, while Max is still on the rise. This raises the question, is being Verstappen's teammate a poison chalice for drivers?
It indeed seems like a daunting task. But with 4 drivers potentially eyeing Perez's cockpit, Red Bull surely has options.
They do, but none of the internal options seems likely to measure up to maximum. They might have to look outside their pool, where Lando Norris stands out. But even then, can any driver really challenge Max on his home turf? Modern Formula One domination seems to favor putting all eggs in one driver's basket, with the other driver reverting to a wingman status. Historically, if we look back at Ferrari's golden days with Michael Schumacher, Renault with Fernando Alonso, or even Red Bull's own first championship with Sebastian Vettel, it was always a clear one-man show. Despite having other drivers in the team, the focus was majorly on a single star player. The same pattern can be seen with Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes, and now with Max Verstappen at Red Bull.
So, having 2 top drivers in the same team, fighting for the same title, might not be the best strategy.
Precisely. It raises the question of whether we need 2 bulls fighting for the same cherry. This is why Norris might be better off staying with McLaren, where he can be the main man, provided the team continues its upward trajectory.
What if McLaren's resurgence is short-lived?
If that happens, Norris' options would be to look at teams like Ferrari, Mercedes, or even Audi, where he could be the lead driver around whom the team is built. That could be his ideal scenario, rather than sharing a garage with his friend Max at Red Bull, where the dynamics could quickly change from friendship to rivalry. But for now, Red Bull is potentially looking at a 1-2 finish in the Drivers' World Championship for the first time in their history, with Perez not far behind Verstappen. Sure, Perez may feel a bit lost in Verstappen's shadow, but he's certainly not doing a bad job. William, have you had a chance to dip into the internet's chatter about our topic today?
Indeed, I have, and there's a rather interesting discussion going on. A user by the name of Silent Yamba wishes that Top Gear's segment, F1 star in a reasonably priced car, was still running to see how well Verstappen would do.
That does bring back some memories.
It certainly does. And the responses are quite entertaining too. For instance, user Nanleman reminisces about Michael Schumacher's Ferrari FXX run, which was truly sublime. Barrett Britt wishes they'd had him do a competitive lap in the same car as the others, instead of going for a gag.
I remember that. It was quite the spectacle.
Yes, it was. And Master Chief has shed a bit of light on it. Apparently, Schumacher had a non-compete clause in his contract, restricting him from competing in non-Ferrari cars. So they had to be creative.
Quite a unique situation, that.
Indeed. Then we have Daft00, who replied with humor, a Suzuki Liana couldn't be disguised as a Ferrari. Not with that attitude. And Backseat Logic makes a cheeky remark, so, the 2009 F1 Ferrari was not a Liana. It sure seemed to drive like one.
Classic banter. Anything else of note?
Well, there's a bit of speculation about what would happen if a similar segment was included in next year's Grill the Grid. User Frankning believes that most teams would be too worried about their respective driver losing to another, and the Things I Do at Night agrees that it's unlikely to come to fruition, but it would be awesome if it did.
The power of what if. Always a good source of debate. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on today's episode of the F1 Motor Fever podcast. We've journeyed through the thrilling world of Formula One, discussing teams, drivers, strategy, and so much more. We really appreciate your time and engagement. Remember to subscribe to our channel and activate those notifications so you don't miss any future episodes. We promise, they're not to be missed. Do share our podcast with your friends, family, and fellow Formula One enthusiasts. And if you enjoyed today's show, let us know in the comments.
Absolutely, folks. Don't skip a beat and keep that pedal to the metal. We've got plenty more content lined up and we're revving up for some exciting discussions. Be sure to join us next time on F1 Motor Fever podcast. We're on the air daily, faster than a pit stop, and always ready to drop some top-notch analysis.
We're truly grateful for your support, and it's always a pleasure to share our passion for Formula One with all of you. We're looking forward to hosting the next episode and continuing this incredible journey together.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Enzo. To all our listeners out there, keep your engines running and your ears tuned in. Both, pedal to the metal, keep your gaze on the road, our channel's content is pure gold.